Hi everybody. In a previous video, which was called How I Planned the Layout, I was showing you how I'd done a changeover point, a conversion point between Super 4 track and Series 6, or modern track, whatever you want to call it. And it was originally over here. Now I've got off my bum now and I've moved it and I've brought it round to here. So it's now on the front of the layout there. Now I did say at the time that when I do this, where I can get at it now, I will explain to you a little bit more of exactly how I did it. Right, so here we go. To make a conversion point. Right, first of all, here is the original conversion track. Now, as you may remember in that other video, I pointed out we've got Super 4 end there, and we've got the Series 6 end there. Now, the track not only tapers down to the thinner end there, being the Series 6 or modern track, we'll call it modern track. That is the sort of thickness of the modern track, and of course the Super 4 is thicker at that end. So it's a very clever little bit of kit, but I found it quite hard to use it anywhere other than in a straight line, which is why I made my own converter point, which I'll come to in a minute. The other thing is, of course, is I didn't mention, you might just be able to see this on the camera, but actually the Super 4 track is higher than the modern track. So not only does the track taper, but it also goes downhill slightly as well. Now, I'm not so sure as that's terribly important, to be honest with you, that bit. So I'll explain to you exactly how I did the point. Right, first of all, I stripped one of these converter tracks apart, took the rails out of it completely. Right, the left-hand rail, this one here, I kept that in its full length of entirety, and I put that, keep the right angle for you, right here. Now there's the soldered joint. That there, from there all the way down to there, to the modern type fish plate, that is all that piece of track there. I bent it to shape and I cut off a piece of the original Super 4 point there, soldered the two together, and of course there she is. Now the other track, the other piece of rail, sorry, here, the right hand one there, was too long for the job, but it's this end what I needed here. This is the right end that I needed, so I cut it off at the given length to fit there, between there and the frog of the point there. So it's not actually the full length, but it doesn't really seem to make any difference. Now the art of doing this, the most important thing in doing this, is that you need to keep the inside flanges of that onto that rail there. You need to keep that in line. That's the most important bit there, and the same thing applies here. This is actually not the best solder joint I've ever done, but it's I'll explain to you about that in a minute, why it's a bit scruffy looking. But again, you've got to keep that bit there. Sorry if I'm getting my hands in the way. You've got to keep the inner flange in line. That's the important part, which comes down here obviously and to the modern fish plate. Now you will see here I've also put some glue gun, which looks a little bit scruffy. I know glue guns can be a little bit scruffy looking, but there's a reason I did that. And besides, if you put ballast on it, you're not going to see it anyway. The reason I did that is because this converter rail is thinner than Super 4, it doesn't actually grip the sleeper grips that well. There's actually play and there's movement in it. So I glued it into place to make sure that it was accurate, and it did the job fine. Now, the reason this solder joint is really not very nice looking, I mean it really isn't the best one I've ever done in my life by a long chalk. To solder to Super 4 track is really easy. You only got to clean it up and it solders really well. But for some strange reason, these old, it's definitely steel, the track, you can see probably on this video, you can see how black and how dirty this track goes. Now I've spent a lot of time trying to clean it up and solder to it, and it is really difficult to do. I did have a tin of flux somewhere which probably would have helped, but I couldn't find it, so in the end I ended up soldering it with pure silver solder, and then that did flow really well across the joint, so it's all flowed properly there now, so it's okay. And of course you might have to just file the top down a little bit if they're slightly off, which is what I've done as well. But what I think I'm going to do when I move the layout now is I think I'm going to I'm not going to use this converter point. I'm not going to bother using it. I don't think you need to do this. What I'm going to do is just simply get hold of an off-cut nickel silver track like that, and I'm going to cut it to length. I'm going to put it in the point, same as I've done there, but making sure that those inner flanges are in line and that they're not out of line up onto the plastic frog, etc, etc. I think it can be done quite easily with a bit of that without having to use a converter track. Now the other thing is, as I said earlier, the converter track does go downhill as well. Again, I don't think that's quite so important, but what I have done is under that sleeper there, you probably can't see, sorry, that sleeper there, yes, it's under that one there. I've put a little bit of plastic, like another sleeper really, because it just takes the height of it gently down to there. So it's, yeah, just from there, the bit of a sleeper stuck underneath that one, just to get the height a little bit more accurate. But yeah, it works absolutely fine, and yeah, I mean, I hope that's helpful to some of you. It was my own idea, and it really does work really well. So I think I'm going to do a video now with some shunting. So now I've got this at the front of the layout, it's going to make it easier for me to do that. So anyway, hope you enjoyed that and hope you found it useful, and I've got the layout set up for the next video, which should be coming rather soon. So see everybody, bye-bye.